here because she was trying to scratch.
Mhm.
Okay, and then it's perfect piece. Oh.
Right, hello everyone. For anyone who's on watching now, welcome aboard. We're actually going to be starting at 6:15, so we'll be back very soon. That's because of a little bit of confusion in the messaging. Hello all, for all who've arrived punctually at 6 o'clock. There was some confusion in the advertised time, and so we have to start at 6:15 instead of punctually at 6 o'clock, as I have a tendency to be. So you'll see on the, there we go, you'll see seder starts at 6:15, slight change, but it gives us all the time, and you'll see me just sitting up and my children coming and going and getting organized. So that's okay, we'll see you back here in a couple of minutes' time. Chat amongst yourselves. I will be able to see your chat comments, but of course I can't hear anything that you say. Hello for everyone with us who's already with us at the moment. We had some confusion in the start time being 6:15 or 6 o'clock, and so we've had to default to the later time. So just bear with us. We're going to start in 5 minutes time, and if you hear any background noise, it's my children having dinner because they can't possibly wait another hour and a half. We'll see you in a few minutes. Chat amongst yourselves literally on the live chat. Hello, everyone. It is 6:15 Welcome to my home. Do you have sound? Can you hear me now? Okay. So welcome to the seder if you have not already done so. Just a moment, if I may, I'm going to mute this for just a If you have not already done so, you can find the Haggadah online at tbi.org.au. It is the TBI Haggadah. We have done a fair bit of work to create this. So I think Inga's great. Thank you. Thank you for the comments. I can see your comments, so you can engage and interact with me, which would be fantastic. Okay. I can see your comments. You can make a comment. I will have a bit of lag time before I can actually read the comment and respond to it. But I'm very happy to do so. And in that way, we can actually have some kind of dynamic engagement. You will need to have prepared certain things in your home if you wish, or you can just participate as we are. But the Haggadah goes back thousands of years. This idea of, you'll find us on page 2, the word Haggadah means the telling, and it's the name given to the text used to navigate the various rites and rituals of the Pesach Seder. And one of the most central commandments of Pesach is the directive to tell the story of the Exodus to your children, which I will be doing this evening. And my children may make guest appearances at various points, and I hope you will bear with me as one of them is being fed in the background, and you can actually hear a little bit of the sound of her not enjoying a gas bubble. So we've got many sections, rituals and customs, which are going to be explained. It's designed to engage us all. So the first thing that we do is we seek for the chametz. Normally this is done the night before the Seder, and what we would do, and what my father would always do, is he would get a candle and we would turn all the lights out and we would deposit into each of the rooms throughout the house a piece of chametz, ritually. So we would have, I can't answer that, Caroline. How do you get the Haggadah without losing me? You can minimize Zoom, or you can get the Haggadah up, and Zoom will minimize into a small box in the top screen. So that's okay. You can do half and half, as Kathy has said. There's not a problem to do that. Just download it, have it open, and you can actually see both at the same time. So traditionally, the search for the chametz, the bdikat chametz. So prior to Pesach, there's a certain, pardon me, there's a certain amount of cleaning that is done. And that's very much spring cleaning, because in the Northern Hemisphere, it is spring. So the idea is that we clean our homes, we prepare, we anticipate, we do everything that's necessary in order to be ready for Pesach. I think this year, especially, cleanliness is something that we have all become aware of, not just cleanliness, but hygiene and taking great precaution. And I think people have had the opportunity to clean their houses in a way that is vastly more present for us than it has been in the past. So if you look on page 3, once you have cleaned the house of chametz, there's a tradition of walking around and symbolically removing the remaining pieces of chametz and placing them into a bag, and then taking them out and later on burning them, literally burning them, symbolically getting rid of all of the forbidden elements within the house. And so what we would do, my father would turn out the lights, would place around the house these little pieces of chametz on a little piece of tin foil or a napkin of some kind, and we would walk around the house with a feather, because you would literally brush the chametz into a bag, which would then be taken outside, and a candle, and all the lights would be out, and you weren't allowed to speak throughout this. You would say this bracha, which you'll find on page 3 of the Haggadah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Al bi'ur chametz. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to eliminate the chametz. And then once all of the chametz has been removed, and literally we would take it outside and tie the bag to a tree until the end of Pesach and then burn it. And then we would say, Kol chamira v'chamia, all leaven or anything leavened which is in my possession, which I have neither seen nor removed, and about which I am unaware, shall be considered nullified and ownerless as the dust on the earth. And so this is the tradition of, if by any chance somewhere in the house there might be a Snickers bar or something else that might include some chametz, we would at this time consider it as dust and therefore nullified. And then we skip past Havdalah because there is no Havdalah this evening. It is not Motzei Shabbat. And we go to page 7 and Hadlakat Hanerot. So before we even begin, we bring in the festival by lighting the candles. Elena, viens. 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 Attention. Hop. Voilà. And we cover our eyes and we say, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom tov. Amen. Thank you. Okay. For those of you who haven't had a chance to get to meet and to get to know Elena, this is Elena. And she's going to help us a little bit with the seder this evening. So the elements that we need on the seder plate. We have a bowl of water and a towel which we'll use for symbolic washing. A small dish of salt water, symbolic of the tears that the slaves spilt in Egypt. 3 sheets of matzah. Now, I have here shmura matzot, which each year my delightful neighbors, these are shmura matzot. So they're round matzot, handmade, each one taking no more than 18 minutes. Sorry, not each one. The machinery that is used to make them cannot be used for more than 18 minutes at a time prior to being turned off and washed. And these are handmade. Called shmura matzot. A kiddush cup. For wine, 4 cups of wine, of course. And a special separate cup for Elijah the prophet. So in reality, there are not 4 cups, but there's a tradition of 5 cups. Just like there are 5 sons, we'll speak about the 5 children later on. You can use a seder plate, or you can use simply a plate. Or I have a very large, careful, Elena, very carefully, good girl. Tripping over all the wires. I have a large tray with a series of different bowls with all the contents in it. And you will find in the contents a zoah, symbol of the Paschal Lamb. Beitza, so eggs, hard-boiled normally. Then very careful, very careful. Thank you. Charoset, symbol of the mortar. Now, my tradition of the charoset is to use a charoset which has in it dates. So it's a very thick and gluggy and looks very much like mortar. And into this, we blend a little bit of wine, symbol of the blood that was spilt in the construction of the pyramids and the slavery. Herbs can be parsley, can be lettuce. Again, celery, salt water we've spoken to. And then there are a number of additional symbols that you can have. There's also horseradish, which I am delighted to say my mother has fresh from the garden. And every year she prepares for me fresh horseradish. And this year is no exception. The difference between fresh horseradish and horseradish that we can buy from Yumi's or whatever it may be is that the horseradish that my mother makes actually will sear the inside hairs from your nostrils. Absolutely delightful. Okay, then on page 9, we have an order. But before we get to the order, I'd like to share with you what I call the 2-minute Haggadah. It's a 2-minute Haggadah that summarizes pretty much everything that happens in the Passover service, and it's called the 2-minute Haggadah for the impatient. So the opening prayer is, thanks God for creating wine, and we drink the wine. Thanks for creating produce and eat parsley. An overview, once we were slaves in Egypt, now we are free. That's why we were doing this. 4 questions, what's up with the matzah? What's the deal with the horseradish? What's with the dipping of the herbs? What's with the whole slouching at the table business? Answers. When we left Egypt, we were in a hurry. There was no time for making decent bread. Life was bitter like horseradish. It's called symbolism. And number 4, free people get to slouch. And a funny story, once these 5 rabbis talked all night, then it was morning. That's when you start heating the soup. The 4 kinds of children and how to deal with them. Wise child, explain Passover. Simple child, explain Passover slowly. Silent child, explain Passover loudly. Wicked child, browbeat in front of the relatives. Speaking of children, we hid some matzah. Whoever finds it gets $5. That's the afikomen. The story of Passover. It's a long time ago. We're slaves in Egypt. Pharaoh's a nightmare. We cry out for help. God brings plagues upon the Egyptians. We escape, bake some matzah. God parts the Red Sea. We make it through. The Egyptians aren't so lucky. We wander 40 years in the desert, eat manna, get the Torah, wind up in Israel, get a new temple, enjoy several years without being persecuted again. Let the brisket cool now. 10 plagues, blood, frogs, lice, you name it. I would add there might be another plague that we could add at the moment. And the singing of Dayenu. And if God had gotten us out of Egypt and not punished our enemies, it would have been enough. If he'd punished our enemies and not parted the sea, it would have been enough. If he'd parted the Red Sea, removed the guilt, filter fish from the refrigerator now, and eat the matzah, drink more wine, slouch. Thanks again, God, for everything served meal. That is called the 2-minute Haggadah. It is over, and if you want to go eat your meal, now's the time. Having said that, we are on page 9. And the reason why it's called a seder is because there is an order. And the order is as follows. The melodies can be different to the order, but we actually call out the order each time we get to it. So, for example, some people will sing Karei Shurchatz, Karpas Yachatz, Magid Rochta, Motzi Mata, Marol Korech, Shulchan Norech, Tavon Marech Halel Nirzach, Halel Nirzach. Anyone know the melody? Adon Olam Asher Malach. My father would chant Karei Shurchatz, Karpas Yachatz, Magid rochta motzi matzah, maror korech, shulchan orech, tzavon, barech halel, nirtzach. And from that, we get this idea of there being a set order for a seder. On page 10, part of what we're trying to do is teach this to our children, and in order to do so, we make it as entertaining as possible. So on page 10, you will know the melody. Cleaning and cooking and so many dishes, out with the chametz, no pasta, no knishes, fish that's gefilte, horseradish that stings. Here, these are a few of my favorite things. Matzah and karpas and chopped up charoset, shank bones and kiddush and Yiddish neurosis, an aunt who kvetches, an uncle who sings. These are a few of my favorite things. Motzi and matzah, motzi and maror and trouble with Pharaoh, famines and locusts and slaves with wheelbarrows, matzah balls floating and eggshells that clings. These are a few of my favorite things. When the plague strike, when the lice bite, when we're feeling sad, we simply remember our Passover things, and then we don't feel so bad. Okay. So on page 11, we begin with Kaddish, which is the first cup, the cup of sanctification. And the Kiddush is a blessing that helps us to sanctify Shabbat and the festivals and to make these moments in time holy and sacred. Traditionally, before Kiddush is recited, we fill our glasses to overflowing to thank God for our abundance of blessing. And so we pour the first cup of wine. Okay. And then we read on page 11 at the bottom of the page, there's a masculine and a feminine version for those who wish to join me. Hineni mukhan umezuman lekayem mitzvat kos rishona me'arba kosot. Here I am, ready to perform the mitzvah of the first cup of wine and dedicate this whole evening to telling the story of the miracles and wonders that were performed for our ancestors in Egypt on the night of the 15th of the month of Nisan, more than 3,200 years ago. This is what the Torah commands us. Remember the day of your exodus from Egypt. Turning the page, we skip the top of the page because it's not Shabbat, and we go straight to the first cup, the full Kiddush. You'll notice that the melody is different to Shabbat. It has a special melody for the festivals. And now, are you going to hold your Kiddush cup and cover it? No drinking yet. You hold it and cover it. Good girl. Cover it. That's it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei beri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikolam veromemanu mikol lashon v'kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava moadim lesimcha chagim uzmanim lesason את יום חג המצות הזה, זמן חירותנו, מקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ומועדי קודשך בשמחה ובששון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש ישראל והזמנים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. לחיים. She did. Whole big glass. Yeah, we'll have some more later. Lots more later. Normally you will drink that first cup. She loves her grape juice. You drink that first cup leaning to the left because we are as if we are the masters and we are served. So often the person to your right will serve you and you serve the next person to the left. So we begin our ceremony, our seder, with a ceremonial hand washing. I saw a meme this week which showed that this year of all years, instead of the normal seder, careful. Instead of the normal order of the seder, which you'll find back a few pages on page 9, it would be Kadesh Urchatz, Karpas Urchatz, Yachatz Urchatz, Magid Urchatz, Rachza, Motzi Matzah Urchatz, because you interject into everything the idea of having to cleanse every time. So today we symbolically are washing our hands. I will wash my hands here symbolically with a bowl. Here's one that I prepared earlier. And in this case, we do so without a blessing. We will say the blessing later on. And part of the objective of doing this is that our children should be curious and should ask us questions. So if we go back to page 9, we've just done Kadesh Urchat Karpas. So we take a piece of vegetable reminding us of spring, and salt water reminding us of the tears shed by our ancestors. We take a green vegetable, which can be a piece of celery, for example. We dip it into the salt water. And we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, borei pri ha'adama, blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the earth. We lean to our left and we eat the karpas. Now, I didn't mention earlier, but there are some additional symbols on my seder plate. Here are just a few symbols. Some people will place a banana, symbol of refugees and the plight of refugees around the world. Others will place an olive to symbolize peace and the search for peace in the Middle East. An orange, symbol of a story where someone said that a woman belongs on the pulpit as much as an orange belongs on a seder plate. And ever since then, everyone in the Reform movement and many in the conservative, and some even in other Orthodox streams, place an orange on the seder plate, symbol that women belong just as much as men. A potato, symbol of the refuseniks who escaped from Russia. Potato peels, symbols of the Shoah, symbols of Auschwitz, symbols of those who cannot join us at our seder and were deprived not only of seder but of their lives. Many people will put other symbols on their seder plate. These are just a few examples of additions that I have made to my seder plate and to my family. And then we get to number 4, Yachatz. We're on page 14, but we will go back to page 9 on a regular basis because we're looking at the order. Kadesh Urchatz Karpas Yachatz. And so we take one of the matzot and we split it in half. My father used to actually chant a prayer in Judeo-Arabic, which unfortunately I do not know, and it's a tradition I've lost since my father died. And he would literally karate chop the matzah because it represents the parting of the sea and the splitting of the sea. And half would be placed back on the seder plate, and the other half would be placed in either a specially made afikomen bag or into a tea towel, which is then wrapped and often placed on the back of the youngest child in the family, symbol that they carry the burden from generation to generation. And so when we arrive at Yachatz, we split the matzah and place half into a tea towel. I'm not sure that my youngest daughter, who's only 5 months old, would appreciate having the afikomen wrapped around her shoulders, but nevertheless, there is the afikomen, which is traditionally hidden and then searched for later on. So, back to page 9. Kadesh Urchatz Karpas Yachatz Magid So we are on page 15 and we are at the telling, the retelling, and this is the crux of our seder. Why do we retell these 4 questions? Slavery, the 4 children, our ancestors, the 10 plagues, the symbols, the Hallel Psalms. We draw on all of this as part of the telling and part of the engagement with our children so that it goes from generation to generation. Some people will sing this prayer. It is in Aramaic, so if you don't recognize the Hebrew, that's because it's not in Hebrew. Halach ma'an yadi achalu abhata anna be'ara be'ara ademitraim. This is the bread of affliction. This is the bread of affliction, which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are needy come and celebrate Pesach. At present we are here. Next year may we be in Israel. At present some people are still suffering as though they are slaves. Next year may everyone be free. I think this paragraph has a special kind of poignancy at the moment as we all experience a certain amount of isolation, and the idea of freedom and being able to be redeemed is something that we all look forward to. We turn the page. We're on page 16, perhaps the best known of all of the prayers in the Seder is Ma Nishtana. If you'll join me. Ma nishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilot mikol haleilot shebechol haleilot anu ochlin chametz umatzah chametz umatzah halayla hazeh kulo הלילה הזה כולו מצה שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים שער ירקות הלילה הזה כולו מרור הלילה הזה כולו מרור שבכל הלילות איננו מטבילים אפילו פעם אחת הלילה הזה שתי פעמים הלילה הזה שתי פעמים שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים בין יושבין ובין מסובין הלילה הזה כולנו מסובין הלילה הזה כולנו מסובין. On all other nights we eat chametz and matzah. Tonight, why do we eat only matzah? On all other nights we eat any kinds of herbs. Elena, stop. Elena, careful. Tonight, why do we eat only the bitter herbs? On all other nights we do not dip even once. Tonight, why do we dip the greens twice? On all other nights we eat sitting or reclining. Tonight, why do we all recline? And so, careful. In my family, we would sing Avadim Hayinu, Lefaro b'Mitzrayim, and at the bottom of the page, Avadim Hayinu, Ata b'nei Chorim. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, but God took us out of there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Had God not taken our ancestors out of Egypt, then we, our children and our grandchildren, would still be enslaved to Pharaoh in Egypt. Even if we all were wise and perceptive, experienced and versed in Torah, it would still be our duty to tell about the exodus from Egypt. Once we were slaves, now we are free people. And so my family would stand up and we would walk around the table. And every time we were avadim, we would crouch over carrying a symbolic yoke. And every time we were bnei chorin, we would put our hands up in the air that we were free. Avadim hayinu, achshav bnei chorin, avadim hayinu, achshav bnei chorin, avadim hayinu, achshav bnei chorin. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt. Now we are free. Turning the page. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. When Israel was in Egypt's land, let my people go. They worked so hard they could not stand. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Then God told Moses what to do. Let my people go. Let my people to lead the children of Israel through. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. So Moses went to Egypt land. Let my people go. He made King Pharaoh understand. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Thus spoke our God, bold Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborn dead. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. Page 20. So the rabbinic discussion moves to the commandments to tell the story of Pesach. This section of the Haggadah comes directly from the Talmud and challenges the service leader to tell the story from Exodus in such a way that it can be understood and appreciated by all at the table. Traditionally, this is done through the eyes of the four children. Now we're going to look at the four children in four different ways. So here we go. Blessed be the one. Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu, Baruch Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael Baruch Hu. Blessed be the one, blessed is God, blessed be the one who has given the Torah to the people of Israel. Blessed is God. The Torah speaks of four children, a wise one, a wicked one, a simple one, and one who is not able to ask a question. Now, just like there are 5 cups of wine, because if you count Elijah's cup, there is a 5th cup of wine, so too there are 5 sons, or 5 children, as the case may be. And the 5th child is a child who doesn't even know that it's Pesach. He or she is off skiing or surfing or whatever it may be, and isn't even aware that there is a Pesach seder that he or she should be attending. So the wise, Chacham Ma'humer, the wise child asks, what is the meaning of these rules and laws which God has commanded us? We answer this child by teaching the laws of Pesach from preparing the seder all the way to the conclusion of the meal and when we eat the afikomen. So this is someone who is cultivated, sophisticated, understands Jewish law, halakha. We explain things with all of the complexity of what Jewish halakha, Jewish law means. The Rasha is no less cultivated or sophisticated, but turns it to evil purposes. So the wicked child asks, what does this seder mean to you? By the words to you, the child implies that this seder is only for you. This child does not believe that there is anything new to learn. We answer this child by explaining that the seder reminds us of how we were once slaves in Egypt and how we are now grateful to be free. Our obligation on Pesach is to recognize that we are personally in some form of slavery or in some form of struggle or suffering, or we have a yoke to bear. This year especially, that is very personal experience for all of us. And so the evil son doesn't know less than the wise son. He just turns it to a negative spin. Tam Mahu Omer, the simple child asks, what is all this about? What are all these things on the table? And we tell them, with a strong hand, God brought us out of Egypt from the house of slavery. So this is a child who may not know as much as the wise or the Rasha, the evil son, the wicked son. V'she'enu yodea lishol. As for the child who is unable to ask a question, we open up the subject to them as it is written. You shall tell your child on that day, this is on account of what God did for me when I came out of Egypt. So in a little while, when Emily wakes up, you might see one interpretation of the child who is unable to ask. So some believe that the child who's unable to ask is a child who is too young to formulate a question. Others would say that she'enu yodei lishol isn't youth, it's lack of knowledge of how to formulate a question that might be relevant to a halachic authority. On the next page, an alternative version of the Ballad of Four Children. Said the father to his children, at the seder you will dine, you will eat your fill of matzah, you will drink 4 cups of wine. Now this father had no daughters, but his sons, they numbered 4. One was wise, and one was wicked, one was simple and a bore, and the 4th was sweet and winsome. He was young and he was small. While his brothers asked the question, he could scarcely speak at all. Said the wise son to his father, would you please explain the laws or the customs of the seder? Will you please explain the cause? And the father proudly answers, as the fathers ate in speed, ate the paschal lamb at midnight, and from slavery were freed. So we follow their example, and at midnight must complete all the seder, and we should not after 12 remain to eat. Then did sneer the son so wicked, what does all this mean to you? And the father's voice was bitter as his grief and anger grew. If you yourself don't consider as the son of Israel, then for you this has no meaning, you could be a slave as well. Then the simple son said softly, what is this? And quietly the good father told his offspring, we were free from slavery. But the youngest son was silent, for he could not ask at all, and his eyes were bright with wonder, and his father told him all. Now the children heed the lesson, and remember evermore what the father told his children, told his sons who numbered 4. I wonder if we shouldn't perhaps refresh this to reflect that we are egalitarian. On page 23, we raise the cup of wine and we say, Vehi she'amda lavoteinu belanu shelo echad bilvad amad aleinu lechalotenu. God has always kept the promise to save our people in every generation. There have been enemies who wanted to destroy our people, but God saved us from their hands. God helped our ancestors in Egypt by freeing them from slavery. This is the idea that in every generation there is an Amalek, an evil one who tries to destroy the people of Israel. Whether that Amalek might be the biblical Amalek or Ahmadinejad of Iran or any of the numerous evil ones, Haman in Purim. Pick the evil from each generation. We hope to be freed from this yoke from generation to generation. And so we continue with a reminder of the promises God made to Abraham. My ancestors were wandering Arameans. They descended to Egypt and resided there in small numbers. They became a nation great, powerful, and numerous. The Egyptians treated us badly. They persecuted us and put us under hard labor. We cried out to Adonai our God. God heard our voice and saw our persecution, our toil, and our oppression. And so, as you can see on the next page, not only do we have Hebrew, we have the cantillation because it's directly taken from Parashat Vayera in the book of Exodus. Say therefore to the Israelite people, I am the eternal God. I will free you from the labors of the Egyptians and deliver you from their bondage. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm. The outstretched arm is symbolically the Zo'ah, the paschal lamb, the outstretched arm. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and through extraordinary chastisements. And I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God, and you shall know that I, the Eternal, am your God, who freed you from the labors of the Egyptians. I will bring you to the land which I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I will give it to you for a possession. I am God. And so with this reminder of the four statements, we celebrate the Exodus by recalling God's part in our freedom using the words from Deuteronomy. Again, if you look at the words in the Hebrew, you can see the cantillation reflecting that it's directly taken from Torah. והוציאנו אדוני ממצרים ביד חזקה ובזרועה נטויה ובמורה גדול ובאותות ובמופתים. God took us out of Egypt with a strong hand, an outstretched arm, with awesome power, signs and wonders. God brought us to this place and gave us this land, a land of milk and of honey. Now I have brought the first fruits of this soil, which you, God, gave to me. And so it's interesting, when people suffer, it is not possible for others to be happy. We care about all living creatures, and the rabbinic sages felt it was important for us to remember this. And so during this section of the Magid, of the telling of the story, we lessen our joy and celebration, remembering that the Egyptians suffered for our freedom. And so we dip a pinky into the cup of wine, and we place the drop onto a napkin or onto the edge of our plate. We don't drink it. We don't lick the pinky, because what we are representing is the diminution of the joy of the cup that ran over. And as we say each of these plagues, we take one drop of wine and symbolically remove it from the cup and place it on the plate. Dam tzvardea kini marov dever shechin barad arbe hoshech makot begorot. Blood, frogs, vermin, wild animals, cattle disease, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and the death of the firstborn. Only a few weeks ago, now a few months ago, I actually spoke to the fact that we had many of the plagues reappearing. We had the river turn red from the topsoil that landed in it. So the river Yarra turned red. We had vermin, we had locusts in Africa, we had hail which damaged cars, we had darkness which fell when there was a storm of sand. And now we have a disease. On page 27, Rabbi Yehuda haya noten bahem simanim. In order not to forget the wondrous signs, Elena, in order for them not to forget the wondrous signs and symbols of the Exodus, and in an effort to help us remember the plagues, Rabbi Yehuda offered this acronym, Detzach Adash Ba'achab. It reflected that if you count the number of plagues, you could amount to many hundreds of different plagues. And so we give thanks to God for our freedom. Elena, do you want to come and sing Dayenu with me? At the bottom of page 27, what we say is that enough, each of the gifts that God has given us would have been enough. Ilu hotzianu mimitraim dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et Shabbat lanu et Shabbat dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et Torah dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Elena really loves the Dayenu song, and often when we're in the car driving to and from different places, we will sing it together, and she will ask me to repeat it quite endlessly. But if you look in the tradition of Haggadah, it's not just 3 verses. There are actually some 25 verses or more, reflecting that there are so many different things that God did for us, and each of them would have been sufficient because they too were miraculous, and that would have been enough, Dayenu. But no, God did other things for us. And so Dayenu is the reflection, some kind of reflection on our humility, being aware of how much God has done for us. And so on page 28, the telling of our story continues with the acknowledging of the objects on our Pesach plate. Rabbi Gamliel invites us to experience the seder through the use of our senses and to place ourselves within the Exodus story by physically engaging with and bringing into our consciousness the festival symbols. We raise a point to each of the symbols. Some families may even not lift the Pesach because it represents the sacrifices made at the temple and they don't want to recreate the sacrifices. Interestingly enough, in order to complete the law, the requirement, what we have to do is mention these 3 things. They are Pesach, Paschal Lamb, Matzah, and Maror. Pesach al Shumma. Why did our ancestors eat of the Passover offering? It is because the Holy One, blessed be God, passed over the houses of our ancestors in Egypt. And so this is the idea that during the 10 plagues, the final plague was the killing of the firstborn. And the Paschal Lamb was slaughtered and the lintels were painted with the blood of the Paschal Lamb. And so we hold up the Paschal Lamb, a shank bone, or some people will use a chicken wing. I have no idea where this idea of a chicken wing came from, because a chicken wing is not experienced necessarily as a mighty outstretched arm, but rather a kind of tiny little chicken wing. In any case, it's an Ashkenazi tradition, probably because they couldn't access the shank bone, which is the traditional lamb, because it's a lamb offering. This idea that God was the outstretched arm. Matzah. Matzah al shum. Matzah ze she'anu ochlim al shumma. It is because in their haste to leave Egypt, our ancestors did not have enough time to allow their dough to rise. And so we ended up with unleavened bread. Maror. Maror ze she'anu ochlim al shumma. Why do we eat this bitter herb? It is because the Egyptians embittered the lives of our ancestors. And then it continues. Bechol dor vador chayav adam lirot et atmo ke'ilu hu yatsa mimitzrayim. This is fundamentally the crux of Pesach. In every generation, each person's duty is to regard him or herself as though he or her had personally come out of Egypt. As it is written, you shall tell your children on that day, this is an account of what God did for me when I came out of Egypt. By celebrating Pesach each year, we remember the past and we are able to appreciate the freedom that we now have. And so, as I said at the beginning of the Seder, my invitation to each of you is to think about what is the yoke that we individually, each and every one individually experience. What is it that we suffer? Is it the isolation? Is it perhaps something else, illness? A family member we might be looking after, which we see as a blessing, but also at times as a limitation. What is it that we personally feel? Is it that we experience our work as onerous, or have a large family that we have to look after and find the cooking and the cleaning to be onerous? What is it that we individually find onerous? And that is different for each and every person. But in every generation, if we can understand and empathize to a limited amount, perhaps we could understand what their experience might have been. This year we are in isolation. I would not want to compare isolation with all the food you can eat, delivery, Uber Eats, and endless Netflix to the slavery of the Egyptians. Nevertheless, perhaps it gives us a small taste. And then we continue with Hallel, page 30. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Avdei Adonai. Hallelujah, et Shem Adonai, Yehi Shem Adonai, Bevorach, me'ata ve'ad olam. Hallelujah. Betzeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez, הייתה יהודה לקודשו, ישראל ממשלותיו, הים רב הינוס, הירדן דיסוב לאחור, הערים רקדו חלים, גבעות כבני צאן. There's a lot more to Hallel, some of which we will find after the meal. We will actually be having a pause in the middle of our seder in order for everyone to eat their meal, and then we'll come back to it afterwards. For now, I invite you all to pour the second cup of wine. Once again, you may wish to pour it until it runneth over. And we raise the second cup of wine and we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Praise to you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. L'chaim. And then we turn back to page 9. Kadesh urchatz karbas yachatz magid rochza. This time we wash our hands because we are actually about to break bread, or in this case, motzi matzah. And this is the symbolic washing of the hands, which incorporates the bracha. And as we wash our hands, we recognize that historically the washing of the hands included an additional symbol. And that was my father's tradition from Algeria would be that he would wash his hands and he would mingle into the water some of the wine, the red wine that was in his cup, which symbolized the spilling of the blood of the slaves and the blood that was going into the mortar. And we say the bracha, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim. Note, even though the translation here says commanding us to rinse our hands, it's not actually al netilat yadayim. Netilat yadayim is the raising of hands, the sanctification of hands, rather than the washing of hands. And the sanctification was a symbolic one. And the idea of this was that we would prepare ourselves for the sacrifice. And the sacrifice is symbolically represented by motzi matzah. And John Hillel said, remember and acknowledge all of the refugees, overseas students, homeless, and in breaking relationships who are so impoverished and under extreme stress at this time. Yes, John, I find that very, very relevant. And that is actually one of the reasons why on the Seder plate there are additional symbols. And we shouldn't just make them symbols, we should actually do something. And that's one of the things that our social action group, Dignity, is actually doing hands-on work in preparing food and having the food delivered to people who are unable to get government support and yet are forced to be in isolation but cannot work. We turn back to page 9 and we chant. Kadesh urchatz karbav zeyachatz magid rochza motzi matzah. So we take a piece of matzah. Now, in my yeshiva days, when I was in an ultra-Orthodox yeshiva in the old city of Jerusalem, we each had a matzah, much like this, but we had been fasting through the day, and so we were quite hungry. We hadn't had anything to eat or drink, and we weren't allowed to actually eat or drink anything other than the elements of the seder. And so you're supposed to eat a quantity that is the equivalent of a very large olive, which was actually a whole matzah, which was fine for the first part because we were all hungry, but it was actually very dry, and you're not allowed to speak or eat or drink anything else. So it actually became quite hilarious to see a table with about 30 people around it, each one eating their matzah and matzah crumbs going everywhere. It was really quite funny. On the bottom of page 31. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And then on the next page, page 32, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, al achilat matzah. And each person gets a piece of the matzah. Yet again, we turn back to page 9. Kadesh urchatz karbas yachatz magid rochza motzi matzah maror. Some people will dip the bitter herb into the charoset and then shake it off, or shake off any excess, and then recite this blessing. So before this is done, yet again, an example of a Sephardi tradition that my father had, which was to take the charoset. As you can see here, the charoset is quite a dense form of mortar. It has dates, walnut, pomegranate seed, pomegranate juice, apple, and is ground up into a form that is like a paste. And he would pour a little bit of the wine into it, again, symbol of the blood of the slaves being mixed in to the mortar. So we take a bit of charoset, we place it into the bitter herb, because the sweetness of the charoset is blended with the bitterness of slavery. And we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maor. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to eat the bitter herbs. My family's tradition was such that the charoset was so popular, we would have to make vast quantities because it was used just on matzah or on anything throughout the week because of the sweetness of the dates. And it was always a very, very popular recipe. Then we break off 2 pieces from the bottom matzah, take some bitter herbs and place it in between the 2 pieces, and make a sandwich. So piece of the bitter herbs, a dollop of charoset, and a piece of the matzah. when I was doing this for 20 or 30 people, I would always have these things prepared beforehand. Tonight, I can do it as we go. Zecher lemikdash kehillel. Let us do as Hillel did in the days of the Second Temple. Turning back to page 9. Kadesh urchatz karpas yachatz magid rochza motzi matza maror korech. One Seder night, Rabbi Hillel would take matzah and maror and eat them together so as to fulfill the commandment. They shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. It reminds us of the temple sacrifices. We lean to the left and eat our Hillel sandwich. Combined the bitter herbs with the sweetness of the charoset and a piece of matzah. And then back once again to page 11. Sorry, page 9, number 11. Kadesh urchatz karpas yachatz magid rochza motzi matzah maror korech shulchan orech. And so now we get to the time of matzah balls. I think we can have a vote online. Do you prefer sinkers or floaters? I'm not sure what we have this year because I actually ran out of time, and Anna ended up making the matzah balls this afternoon again. So I don't actually know if I have sinkers or floaters this year. But my invitation to you. Many people, floaters, thank you, Esther. I agree with you, by the way, floaters are always best. I was told by Peter Curtis, who may his memory be for a blessing. Peter once told me that at Emi Monash they were making matzah balls, and he found the recipe that for the perfect matzah ball that you roll them and you put them in your armpit and you roll them around your armpit, and that's how you make the perfect matzah balls. I would never eat his matzah balls ever again. He always had a fantastic sense of humor. Jewish tradition is that we have creation, redemption, revelation, and redemption are all part of the Seder. The creation is the creation of the Jewish people, because when we, when we went down to Egypt, we were a tribe, not a people. It is in the crucible that Egypt became, that we became a people rather than the tribe of 69 or 70 people. Then revelation, the idea of arriving, going through all the miracles, going through the splitting of the sea, arriving at Mount Sinai, and God revealing him or herself to us and sharing with us the Torah. So this idea of revelation. And then redemption. Redemption can, by some, is seen as the arrival in the land of Israel. By others is seen as the Messianic era, or the Messiah, or our obligation to create a Messianic era for ourselves in each generation. And so some people will stop at the meal and not actually continue with the second half of the Seder. For those people, they've actually only gotten through creation and revelation and stopped and not actually engaged with the rest of the story, which is Birkat Hamazon and the Hallel Psalms, which is the redemption. And so my invitation to you is we're going to take a brief break. It's 7:20 now. At 8 o'clock, we will pick up again, and we will conclude our Seder with Birkat Hamazon and with the Hallel Psalms, and then with the singing of a whole series of other songs at the end. I recognize some will leave and will not come back. For you, I would like to wish you Chag Sameach. May this year be a year of health and happiness, of holiness, wholeness and holiness, and only good things. And I look forward to seeing or speaking with you soon. Anyone who would like to, never hesitate to be in touch. We are here for you, and we are here 24/7, anytime that you need. Pick up the phone, send an email, send an SMS, do not hesitate. It is now 7:21. Bon appetit, betavon. Enjoy your meal, and we shall see you back here at 8 o'clock sharp for Birkat Hamazon, followed by the Hallel Psalms. For anyone who's still listening, we'll begin again in 4 minutes. Esther, I had roast chicken and lovely roast vegetables and chicken soup. And I've run out of time for dessert. Dessert will have to happen later. There's nothing like a Pesach dinner. Okay. Yes, yum, yum. Amen. Made a massive pot of chicken soup. For those who are rejoining, we are on page 33 for Tzafon, but in order to begin with Tzafon, we have to go back to page 9. This time we're going through till number 12. Kadesh urchatz karbasi yachatz magid rovtza motimatza maror korech shulchanorech tzafon. And so the tradition is to find the afikomen. And some people will have the children find the afikomen, and the child who finds it gets a prize, and others will have the children hide the afikomen, and the adults then have to find it. And if they can't, the children get a prize. In either case, normally the children end up with prizes. In some American communities, those prizes can be quite extravagant. There are several, pardon me, there are several traditions linked with the afikomen. Some people will keep it as for good luck, and other people will eat it, and it is the last flavor that they have in their mouths as they conclude the seder, normally done before midnight, and it's the last flavor, the lingering flavor that they have in their mouths. And then following the meal, of course, we say Birkat Hamazon. And so we are on page 35. And this will be our third cup of wine. חבריי נברך, יהי שם אדוני מבורך מעתה ועד עולם. ברשות חבריי נברך אלוהינו שחל משלו. ברוך אלוהינו שחל משלו, ובטובו חיינו. ברוך הוא ברוך שמו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם. חזן את העולם כולו בטובו, בחן ובחסד ורחמים. הוא נותן לחם לכל בשר, כי לעולם חסדו, ובטובו הגדול. תמיד לא חסר לנו ואל יחסר לנו, מזון לעולם ועד בעבור שמו הגדול. כי הוא זן ומפרנס לכל, ומיטיב לכל, ומכין מזון לכל בריאותיו אשר ברא. ברוך אתה אדוני, חזן את הכל. ועל הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. כך כתוב, ואכלת ושבעת וברכת את אדוני אלוהיך על הארץ הטובה אשר נתן לך. ברוך אתה אדוני על הארץ ועל המזון, ובני ירושלים הקודש במהרה בימינו. ברוך אתה אדוני פונה ברחמה בירושלים, אמן. הרחמן הוא ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. הרחמן הוא יתברך בשמיים ובארץ. הרחמן הוא ישלח ברכה מרובה בבית הזה, ועל שולחן זה שאכלנו עליו. הרחמן הוא ישלח לנו את אליהו הנביא. הרחמן הוא ישלח לנו את אליהו הנביא, זכור לטוב, ויבשר לנו בזוהר נויבות ישועות ונחמות. הרחמן יברך מדינת ישראל, עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ויאמרו אמן. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. And then, having filled the third cup, we raise the third cup and say, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim. And then we come to the counting of the Omer. After the first seder, the first night of the seder, we count the days to the moment of revelation, the moment of Shavuot, 50 days. You shall count from the eve of the second day of Pesach, when an omer of grain, an omer is a quantity of grain, is to be brought as an offering. The day after the 7th week of your counting will make 50 days. On that day you shall hold a celebration, it shall be a sacred occasion for you, and that day is Shavuot. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על ספירת העומר. Blessed are you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom Yom Rishon LaOmer. Today is the first day of the Omer. And so the Seder now focuses on the hope for future redemption, symbolized by Eliyahu Hanavi. So the fifth cup, just like the fifth son. Elijah the prophet, the bearer of good news. In Egypt, the doors of the houses were shut tight on the night of the 10th plague. Perhaps a little like our doors today are closed shut. Blood marked the lintels and the doorposts where we now place the mezuzah. Today, we open our doors wide in expectation, in anticipation, and in hope. We are no longer fearful but hopeful. The Torah calls it a night of watching and looking toward a hopeful future. So we pour a cup of wine for Elijah the prophet. We open the door and we welcome people in. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agiladi, Bimera beyamenu, Yavo Elenu, Im Mashiach ben David, Im Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishvi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Agiladi. I always find this fascinating because, as you can see in the last word, it specifically says Im Mashiach ben David, with the Messiah, son of David. And even though our translation doesn't speak of the Messiah, the words of Eliyahu Hanavi, which we sing both here and at Havdalah, do speak of the coming of a messianic age, a messianic era, or if you wish, a Messiah, an individual. And the tradition is that each of us in every generation have the capacity to become the Messiah. All we have to do is apply ourselves and be the best that we possibly can be. And so, on page 41, we double back and we chant on page 9 through to number 14. Kadesh urchatz karpas yachatz magid rochza motzi matza maror korech shulchan orech tafon barech hallel. Page 41. Betzeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov me'am lo'ez, הייתה יהודה לקודשו, ישראל ממשלותיו, הים רב הינוס, הירדן ייסוב לאחור, הערים רקדו חלים, גבעות כבני צאן. הללו את אדוני כל גויים, שבחו כל האומים, כי גבר עלינו חסדו, ואמת אדוני לעולם, הללויה. Pitchu li sharei tzedek avovam odeya, open the gates of righteousness for me that I may enter them and praise Adonai. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki leolam chazdo, yomar na Yisrael ki leolam chazdo. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki leolam chazdo. Yomar na Israel ki leolam chazdo. Yomru na Beit Aron ki leolam chazdo. Yomru na Yirei Adonai ki leolam chazdo. At the bottom of page 42, we fill the fourth cup of wine and we say together, Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri agafen. Lean to the left and lechaim. And so we come to the conclusion of our seder. We turn back to page 9 and chant through to number 15. Kadesh urchatz karpas yachatz magid rochza motzi matza maror korech shulchan orech tafon balech halel nirtzach. on page 43. Chasal Sidur Pesach Kehilchato. The seder now concludes according to halacha, complete in all its laws and ordinances. Just as we were privileged to arrange it tonight, so may we be granted to share it again. O pure one who dwells in the heights above, establish us as a countless people once again. Speedily restore, return, and redeem us to the land of Zion with song. Leshana Abba B'Yerushalayim, Leshana Abba B'Yerushalayim, Leshana Abba B'Yerushalayim, Leshana Abba B'Yerushalayim Habnuya. On page 44. So my family tradition was that we would finish the seder and then we would sing. We would sing for hours. It was just such a pleasure, and everyone enjoyed the singing as much as anything else. So on page 44, the theme song of Pesach. Adiru, Adiru, Ivne Veto Bekarov, Bimera, Bimera, Beyammenu Bekarov, El Bene, Ne Betcha Bekarov. Now I'm going to change the setting on my microphone, and you can tell me if this is better or worse. Bachuru gadolu tagolu yivne vedo bekarov bimera bimera beyammenu bekarov el bene ne betcha bekarov aduru vatiku zakayu chasidu yivne vedo bekarov Bimera, bimera, beyammenu bekarov, el bene, ne betcha bekarov, tahorhu yachidu, kabiru lamuru, melechu norahu, sagivu izuzhu, bondeu tzaddiku, yivne veto bekarov, Bimera, bimera, beyammenu bekarov, el bene, ne betcha bekarov, karoshu, rachumu, shaddaihu, takifu, yivne veto bekarov, bimera, beyammenu bekarov, el bene, ne betcha bekarov. On the next page, Chad gadya, dezabina, betrezuze. There's English versions, Yiddish versions, French versions, pretty much every language you can imagine. Let me share with you a Judeo-Arabic version that my father used to sing. واحد الجدي لكشري بيبي بخاروبشي جاكتشو شروب الماء لسفارتنا لحركة اللتا لقربة قلبي لقربة قلدا لكلتش دي لكشري بيبي بخاروبشي واحد الجدي لكشري بيبي بخاروبشي. On page 46. Echad mi yodeya, Echad ani yodeya, Echad Eloheinu, Sheba shamayim uvaret. Shnayim mi yodeya, Shnayim ani yodeya, She'ene luchot habrit, Echad Eloheinu, Sheba shamayim uvaret. Shlosha mi yodeya, Shlosha ani yodeya, Shlosha avot she'ene luchot habrit, Echad Eloheinu, sheba shamayim uvaret. Arba mi yodeya, Arba ani yodeya, Arba imahot שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. חמישה מי יודע, חמישה אני יודע, חמישה חומשי תורה, ארבע אמהות, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. שישה מי יודע, שישה אני יודע, שישה סדרי משנה, חמישה חומשי תורה, ארבע אמהות, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. שבעה מי יודע, שבעה אני יודע, שבעה ימי שבתה, שישה סדרי משנה, חמישה חומשי תורה, ארבע אמהות, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. שמונה מי יודע, שמונה אני יודע, שמונה ימי מילה, שבעה ימי שבתה, שישה סדרי משנה, חמישה חומשי תורה, ארבע אמהות, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. שמונה מי יודע, שמונה אני יודע, שמונה ימי מילה, שבעה ימי שיטה, שישה סדרי משנה, חמישה חומשי תורה, ארבע אמהות, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. תשעה מי יודע, תשעה אני יודע, תשעה ירחי לידה, שמונה ימי מילה, שבעה ימי שבתה, שישה סדרי משנה, חמישה חומשי תורה, ארבע אמהות, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. עשרה מי יודע, עשרה אני יודע, עשרה דבריה, תשעה ירחי לידה, שמונה ימי מילה, שבעה ימי שבתה, שישה סדרי משנה, חמישה חומשי תורה, ארבע אמהות, שלושה אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. 11 מי יודע, 11 אני יודע, 11 כוכביה, 10 דבריה, 9 ירחי לידה, 8 ימי מילה, 7 ימי שבתה, 6 סדרי משנה, 5 חומשי תורה, 4 אמהות, 3 אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. 12 מי יודע, 12 אני יודע, 12 שבטיה, 11 כוכביה, 10 דבריה, 9 ירחי לידה, 8 ימי מילה, 7 ימי שיטה, 6 סדרי משנה, 5 חומשי תורה, 4 אמהות, 3 אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. 13 מי יודע, 13 אני יודע, 13 מדיה, 11 שבטיה, 13 מדיה, 12 שבטיה, 11 כוכביה, 10 דבריה, 9 ירחי לידה, 8 ימי מילה, 9 שבטי שיטה, 6 סדרי משנה, 5 חומשי תורה, 4 אמהות, 3 אבות, שני לוחות הברית, אחד אלוהינו, 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 שבשמיים ובארץ. Now, if you look up in the TBI Community Seder song sheets, there's another song which is number 4 that I wanted to share with you, which requires that you do this. Slap, clap, slap, clap, slap, clap, clap, slap. Well, hey, you all, glad you came along to hear our story told in rhythm and song. It's about 4 sons and the questions they raise. They think about Pesach in different ways. One son is wise, one argues a lot, one's got a brain that's not too hot. One's so very young he can't yet speak. Well, now let's take a closer peek. The wise one says, what's the meaning and the cause of all these customs, rules, and laws? Since he'll understand the entire story, the Torah says, tell it in all its glory. The kid who argues has an attitude. A seder just ain't for this cool dude. A Jewish past, he says he just don't need. If he'd been a slave, he'd never be free. The third son's simple, keep your story plain. Long explanations would be insane. He'll just ask, what's this? You can tell him, then we escaped Egypt, we became free men. Son number 4 cannot be heard. The king's too young, doesn't speak a word. If you waited for a question, it could take 2 years to begin the story for him. Tell him our hopes and our tears. Now we sure do hope you enjoyed our rest. Did it cause you for a moment to put on your thinking cap? Don't forget that they were different from the first son to the last son. Kids are equally important, each and every one. I think that's a modern version. I think it needs to scan a little better. Hello? You want to say hello to everyone? Cup of tea. Oh, cup of tea. Now that is why she is defined as the ministering angel, because she brings me a cup of tea. Thank you. Also on the song sheet, you'll find this one. Do you hear the doorbell ring? And it is a little after 10. It can only be Elijah come to take a sip again. He is feeling pretty fine, but in his head the screw is loose. So perhaps instead of wine, we should only give him juice. I think that is also true for what we give to my daughter, because if we give her even too much juice, it's remarkable how she is climbing the rafters. In any case, I just wanted to share a few final thoughts. This idea of שבכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים. In every generation, each of us has to think of ourselves as if we personally came out of Egypt. And so we take a moment and think. We think of all those who have such difficult experiences. We think of people who might be the refugees. We think of the people who still experience misogyny, who cannot experience egalitarianism. We think of people who have been escaping oppressive societies. The refuseniks were just one example of them. We think of those who suffered, who only received soup made out of potato peels in Auschwitz in the Second World War. We think of all those who aren't necessarily simply in the comfort of their homes, eating and sleeping and watching Netflix, but instead are struggling even to have enough food to eat. Some struggle simply with mental health in isolation. Some tragically suffer from terrible domestic violence, because in the context of isolation, their suffering is even greater. Our hearts go out to them. May they experience redemption soon, quickly in our days. And so I wish you all Chag Sameach, Kasher v'Sameach. May you have a Pesach of peace and health and holiness, and a year that follows. And may we truly experience redemption. I wish you all the very, very best. Yes, we have Kabbalat Shabbat tomorrow night at 6:15. Thank you, Rebecca, for mentioning that. Stay safe, stay home, stay safe, and we shall see you all very, very soon. If you do feel the need to call us, don't hesitate, 24/7. You have my number, you have my email address, and if you don't have the number, it's on the website. I wish you all Chag Pesach Kasher v'Sameach. Till we meet again. Shalom, everyone.